Hello and welcome again, and this is just a follow-up on my previous video on the notion of the if, else if decision construct. In this video I'm just looking at the whole notion of the printing of variables and how to print other values, but also to how to kind of sprucing up how your presentation will look in your normal program. Now, generally this won't really matter too much, because when you go to the commercial environment your program will be running typically on what is known as a GUI, in other words what was I going to say, a user interface. But obviously for your first few programs you want values to be printed out to show that you're getting the right values and so forth like that, but also too for other reasons. And one of the big reasons that we do print variables and so forth like that is debugging process, to see if we are getting those right values and to make corrections as we need to go along. Okay, so looking here on screen, this is the program that I used in the previous video. But as you can see, and one of the things that I just want to show very quickly, it's all over the place. You can see here that yes, I've got variables declared here in home score, away score. Yes, that is grand and fine. Now in here I do have what is an array. Okay, it's an array of the teams, and simply an array is one storage point for several values of a related data type. So in this case it's just the name of the teams. Okay, Inter and Juventus. Okay, but more so to the point is this is the if statement, the else if else, and you can see that it's all over the place. But if you want to tidy up your code pretty quick using IntelliJ, and there are several other options in other IDEs, using the IntelliJ option you can go to the code menu, and if you click on reformat code, okay, it tidies it up for you. Okay, so that's just a handy thing to know, and it tidies it up for you. But going back to the crux of this video, we can see here that we've got our two team names, and we've got the home score and the away score. And when we run this, okay, I'll just build it anyway. Okay, recompile. Okay, I'm recompiling it, and then if I run it, okay, we can see the home team won. But the point is this: we don't see several details. We don't see what did they win by, what did they score, even what was their name. Now obviously I'm not going to go further down the details. You'd obviously want the score and so forth like that, but that's in a different video. That's way on down the line. Okay, you'll be talking realistically about objects at that point in time, where a team would have a name. It would then have another aspect of maybe players. Okay, so that's it's a more complex form of variable, for want of a better word. You're talking really about objects there. So anyway, looking at this one here, now look, I'm just going to change things about all right and run them. But what we want to really do is see, okay, home team won, and maybe even the score line. Okay, or a generic score line above at the top, and then saying, okay, the result. Okay, so even if I also too, there's the notion of where do we put the printouts. Okay, and that comes a bit with experience and time. But all what I'm going to do initially now is just basically put a printout at the very top stating who played who, but also to the score line. Okay, now I leave who played who for a tiny bit down the line, because that will mean printing of array values. And that's not necessarily what we need to do kind of yet. So what I'll do at the moment is just put in home team score, away team score. Okay, so one thing that I kind of mentioned in the last video, sout, in most IDEs, because we use the system out.println so much, if you type sout and press tab, we have the println generated. So if I just did this, okay, home score. Now all I want to do is show the home score. Okay, I'll worry about the away score afterwards, and as I said before, incrementally. Get one thing working right, then get the next. Okay, so if I wanted to print the home score, it's quite as simple is that in a print line, okay, I'm actually going to make it easier. I'll actually get, sorry now, I'm just backstepping a tiny bit. Is that if you just wanted to print home score, you can put it in here, okay? You don't need to put in quotation marks or anything. You just need to put the variable that you're printing, okay? So what we should see here, okay, if I run this now, okay, you can run it and it will rebuild as it runs, and we can see here 3, okay? And just to verify that, okay, I'll just make it, let's just say 4, okay, and also to run, and you can see here Shift F10. So if I press down Shift and F10, okay, it will run it for me. That's a quick shortcut, but I just run it here, and we can see the value there of 4. Now, it hasn't changed the notion of the if or anything as of yet, and obviously that's grand and fine. But if I wanted to print now the away team and so forth like that, it would get a bit trickier, okay? But what I would have to do, okay, if I wanted to print just a bit of text at either side of that, okay, you have to surround whatever is in text with quotation marks. So home score, okay, in other words, what they scored. Just put a bit of space. But if you want to include, like here, where you have got just normal text home score, but then you want to print a variable, the key important point is the plus sign. Okay, that's vital. Okay, what that is saying now to the compiler is print this piece of text, but also add in the value of this variable. So seeing that, recompile, okay, and the visual run. Home score 4 and home team 1. Okay, now obviously we might want to put in other details than that. Okay, what we need to do, we could, if we wanted to, append this line here, in other words, add on elements to it by putting another plus sign, maybe putting in, okay, away score, and in the same way that I did for the home score, I now do it for the away score. Okay, so we see home score, away score, so we should see 4 too. So if I build or recompile, it doesn't really matter, okay, it's only a small project and so forth like that. And if we run, okay, match result, this program here, you can see home score, away score, okay, 4 plays 2, okay, and home team 1. And I just changed that around, obviously, to show that, whoa, not 55, okay, Juve are a bit with the referees, but they're not that good. Okay, so if I do build and recompile and run, okay, we can see home score 4, away score 5, and away team 1. Okay, that's all grand and fine. So that's normal printing. But remember the simple things. You can see here int home score. You can, if you hover over things, you can see their values too, and so forth like that. But what we want to do is just for printing. Okay, just another few small things too, before I move on to the printing of array values, is we can see here is systemout.println. What that means is that we are calling up the functionality of the JVM to print this line, but then ln means go to a new line. So what we do actually is we print that line and then we go on to a new line entirely. Okay, so we might not want that to happen. We might just want to print everything out in one line. So what we could do here is, rather than using println, just use print. Okay, and if I run that, we can obviously see here that it's all printed on one line. that's not, I'm just kind of explaining more than anything there. And most printouts are usually done with println. And as I said before anyway, they are kind of redundant at this point in time because your finished program will usually be through a GUI, a front end that will be developed. Okay, but you do still want to be able to see is the logic of your code working, and before porting it to that front end. So that's all grand and fine there. Okay, home score and so forth like that. But what if you want to print the value of arrays, specific values of the array? Okay, now an array is like what we've got here. We've got two teams, okay, Enter and Juventus. They are both strings. Look, I'm not saying that they're teams, but for the purpose of this program, they're two strings, i.e. two names of the teams. And I would assume, okay, like in anything else, okay, 0 is home, 1 is away. Now, I would suggest very strongly that you do, if you haven't used arrays before, is do at least look up a tiny bit of them, because you will be seeing more of them if you're beginning now, but more so this is aimed at people who have used arrays and need to print out the values. Right, so if I wanted to, let's just say for argument's sake, just print out the names of either one of them. Okay, we'll start off very quickly, SOUT, okay, and if you want to print, okay, either one, in this case there's only two elements in the array, and I'll include more, okay, teams, square brackets, wherever you see square brackets, as I said before in my video about brackets and the use of them, you know it's an array. Okay, and remember, the important point about arrays is they start at 0, not 1. Most indexes in computing, every index, well, I've yet to see one that doesn't start at 1. So if I wanted to print out the individual contents of one of those indexes, in this case here, teams 0, okay, the array called teams, okay, that thing there, that array there, and the first position of it. So we'll just see what happens. Again, it may not look great as a printout, but at least we'll see what it produces. So if I run that, okay, sorry there, no, just lost it a tiny bit there. You can see there, Enter, okay, home score. The score is still the same and so forth like that. I mean, just look. I don't want to be seeing UV1 all the time, but okay, I could do this. Okay, that you have Enter, and in the same way, okay, V, okay, Enter V plus, okay, teams, okay, 1. Okay, team 0 and teams 1. Okay, so if we just printed that, run, or not printed it, but run it, Enter versus Juventus. Now notice a few things here. Because there was no text in front or behind, in front of the first one or behind the second variable, I didn't need to put in the plus symbol. Okay, but I did need to put in the plus symbol here because I wasn't finished this printout. You can't really print one variable after another, but what you can do is obviously put a tiny bit of text between them and then print out the second variable, in this case the second array index, which was Juventus. Okay, so team 0 relates to the first one and teams 1 relates to the second one. Okay, and then you print those out. Now I've kept the home score and the away score away from being array contents, but I could have just as easily done them in an array. But realistically, I just want to keep this video kind of short and sweet to the point, that basically look how to print values. So thank you very much for listening to this. I suppose there's nothing much to do but actually try a few printouts yourself. And I will put in a few in relation to this code. I will put in a few printouts for you to just attempt, and obviously if you want any help or anything like that, please let me know.